Well, hello everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so glad to see you. Say, we're going to talk about the Vertigo swirl records my favorites that I've had. I've had many over the years. I've sold quite a few, got rid of the ones I didn't like. I didn't always buy a Vertigo swirl because, this is the parent company of Vertigo is Philips. And it was a subsidiary label that was started to put kind of the more obscure stuff on there, like Black Sabbath's on the swirl. Because, when they came out, what genre are they? That was kind of all new sound. And even Alex Harvey, it's different. It's not your regular kind of rock and roll. It's some good hard rock on here, really good guitar work, and Alex Harvey is a great singer. But it's a little bit different. So they have a label that's a little bit more progressive. Like Harvest was started, and that was Pink Floyd was on that. There's a little kind of a progressive label that different record companies started. So the swirl label now, let's open this up. We'll show you what the swirl looks like. If I can get the record open. We have what you call the swirl record with the swirl bag. This is how they came from the UK. You got a swirl inner sleeve with so they call that the swirl bag. And then this is the record with the Vertigo swirl label. And that is one of the most iconic and coolest record labels of all time. One of my favorites for sure. And the thing about this Vertigo swirl label, it wasn't very popular. They didn't sell a lot of records. That's why it's become collectible. Anything that's in short supply and is cool, has got a cool factor, like Black Sabbath, is going to be collectible. And so, but they did reissue now some of the records. Like this one, they did reissue it. Some of the more popular titles they reissued. And in some of the first editions, you would get what you would call a promo picture. And you've got a picture of Zell Clems in there, the guitar player, and a picture of Alex Harvey. Now, Alex Harvey is from Scotland. And he has a really thick Scottish accent. And the way he sings and the way he puts emphasis on certain words and draws stuff out, I love it. I like how he does it. It's genius, and it's almost comical the way he does this stuff. It's so entertaining. But these pictures were included a lot of times in the first original pressing with a band that was new. And they would also include some printed materials that would describe the band members, where they were from, a lot of information about the band, so that radio stations, that's where you get a promo, goes to a radio station, so the radio stations could have something to talk about, right, between songs, especially on the FM stations where you would hear something like this. This is not something you'd hear on AM. This is FM type of stuff. So they did reissue it a couple years later because this was one of the more popular titles that they did put out. And it was put out on the Spaceship label. Now, the Spaceship label on the Vertigo is still very, very cool label. In fact, again, it's one of my favorites. And this is the UK original Vertigo, which is just like the swirl, is the best sounding one there is out there. And I've had a few different ones. I did actually, and this has also got a Vertigo bag, but this is from a USA press. And then I have, let me open this up, a record mirror and disc, June 26th of 76. Record mirror and disc. This is from the UK, and this was included in one of the records that I bought from England. They had that in there. So that's always nice to get something like that. But as I was saying, this Alex Harvey record now, they would play this kind of stuff on FM. So I heard it on FM probably in 1972 when it came out. And I went down like the next day, I think it was on a Friday, I heard it. I went down Saturday morning, I went downtown Winnipeg, and I went to every record store that I normally went to. And I asked about this record, I wanted to buy it. I heard it on the radio, and they said, no, we don't have that. So I went to, there's a store across from Hudson's Bay on Portage Avenue. I think it was called Music City. And I went in there, which I had never gone in there before, and there was an elderly lady, and she was the one that ran the store, and I asked her about this record, and she said, well, hang on a minute. We just got some in today. We got a box in. So she got the box, she opened it up, and she pulled out this record. I said, that's the one. Awesome, I need to get that. And it was a swirl. It was a Canadian swirl. And so I have since, I don't have that record anymore, so I did get the UK and the French swirl. Next up, Alex Harvey, his next record. And this is also on a swirl, but this only came on the swirl label in the United States. It was not a swirl in any other country. Might have been Italy. Italy you look at a lot of Italy, they have a lot of swirls that they're the only country that put it on that swirl label. But again, another really, really good record by Alex Harvey on the Vertigo swirl label. Now this one's not on the swirl, but the original Alex Harvey record in the UK came on a foil cover. And that foil cover was very delicate, and I've tried to buy one, but you know me, I get the nice ones. I don't like the ring wear and the nasty looking cover, and every one that you can find on for sale, they always have a bunch of wear on the front. That foil didn't wear very well. So I bought a German one, and it looked just like this, same coloring, but it had a red label. And this one I found, which is a pretty rare one, is a Japanese version of the record. And on the back, like the really old from the early, like 71 or 72 or 3, they would sometimes glue the inner to the, you don't have any kind of an inner lyric sheet on this, because it's actually used for the back of the record, which is not, this is the only one that has it like this, the Japanese one. And because they have the name of the songs in Japanese on here. And this is on it's not a swirl, it's on the Spaceship label. It was never a swirl in Japan. But I found that, I like Alex Harvey, so I collect a lot of his records. So this is the Japanese version. Now this is a band called Beggar's Opera. This is called Act 1. It's on a very nice gatefold cover. It is a UK. We'll pull it out for you, Dave. A UK swirl. Dave messaged me on my last video, because on the last video I said I was going to do, I was thinking of doing a video about the Vertigo swirls. So a lot of my subscribers, a lot of folks who always are so gracious and leave me such nice comments, they all were making comments about, yeah, we're looking forward to the swirl video. So Dave took the opportunity to say, Ron, can you show us as many inserts and labels. I want to see everything. Don't just talk about the record and go to, I want to see all the stuff you got. So for Dave, I'm going to try to show as many things as I have in the records. That's why I'm doing all that. And if you have anything that you'd like me to look at or review or talk about, let me know in the comments. That's what they're there for. And I'm trying to take care of Dave today. I'm going to give as much as I can. Now here's another record, Beggar's Opera, Waters of Change. Again, it's on a nice gatefold cover. And you can see up here, it's got the Swirl logo, and it's also got a sticker on here. It says London. And this is the original record that I bought probably in '73. This was an original Swirl in 1970. But by '73, they were already reissuing the record. And of course, it came on the Spaceship label. But because, as we've talked about, the Swirl was a failed label. They didn't sell many records. So the stampers are really fresh because they didn't make that many to start with, right? So when they would reissue the records now, they just use the same stampers as they did on the Swirl for the Spaceship. These Spaceship records, the early ones, they sound just as good as the Swirls do. They're using the same stampers, just like for the Black Sabbath records, WWA reissued it as well. Another completely different label. And if you look in the dead wax, you'll see VO6, which is the Vertigo Swirl stamper. They use the same stamper as the Swirl, and they sound every bit as good as the Swirl does. So these Spaceship they're a lot less expensive, but you're going to get all the fidelity, but just not the collectability of that Swirl, because that's the one it's hard to get. Beggar's Opera. This is called Pathfinder. Again, this is on a nice Swirl label. Vertigo. And this is what you call a fold-out cover. I've been looking at some records on eBay lately, and I'm seeing FOC. And the guy doesn't know, but he's calling a gatefold a fold-out cover. A gatefold and a fold-out cover is two different things. This is a fold-out cover, FOC. And look at how big this thing turns out to be. Right? Big posters that's included in the record that the cover turns into. Very, very cool. On the Swirl label, on the OG, you get the fold-out cover. Now, if this was a Spaceship, the Spaceship's not a fold-out cover. It's just going to be a regular gatefold cover. And like the Japanese version of this was never on a fold-out cover. It was always just a gatefold cover. Then we have another Beggar's Opera, Get Your Dog Off Me. You know, and Beggar's Opera, they do, like, they always do, like they do MacArthur's Park on this record. They do a fantastic job of it with the harpsichord and everything. And then they do on this one we were talking about. On this one they do Classical Gas, and it's really, really well recorded. It sounds fantastic. Even on the Spaceship, which was the label that I originally bought it on in Canada, I bought it on the Spaceship label, but I was able to now in later years get a nice Swirl label. And I got a nice clean cover, which if you look, they're hard to get. These records, like especially from the UK, they're always dirty. But I've got me a really nice clean one. And this is I think my favorite Beggar's Opera record. It's got a lot of really good songs on, a lot of catchy tunes, really good vocals, great guitar work, a lot of good keyboards on here. Just a good straight up rock and roll. with a little bit of progressiveness to it, of course. Now look at this one. This is called the Vertigo Annual from 1970. This is a sampler, basically. It's a 2 LP on a nice gatefold. And being a Vertigo from 1970, you're getting the nice Vertigo labels on there. Nice big Vertigo labels. And I'll just take a second here and I'll tell you who's on the records. There's 2 records here, so there's quite a few people. And what, of course, what they're doing is this is 1970. This is the first year that Vertigo came out, and at the end of the year, they put this sampler out to give, and it sold for £2.50. So they're just basically getting their money back at this point. It's like a lost leader to get people to buy the record, to take it home and listen to all this stuff. So maybe they'll come back, of course, and buy the records. Who we got on here that they're trying to introduce in 1970? We got Coliseum, Rod Stewart, Jimmy Campbell, May Blitz, fantastic. Juicy Lucy, Fairfield Parlor, Magna Carta, really good band. Affinity's good. Gracious, Cressida, Nucleus, Manfred Mann, Bob Downs, Dr. Strangely Strange, and Uriah Heep. Funny you don't see Black Sabbath on here, but... Oh, here it is, Black Sabbath. Yeah, Behind the Wall of Sleep's what they got for Black Sabbath. There you go. So, that's a cool record. And they didn't, I bought this years back, but they didn't go for very much money because even though it was a swirl, it wasn't a collectible version of it. But I think it's really cool. Now, one of my favorite records, never mind favorite swirls, is Dr. Z. And I really love this record. It's got the cover that folds out to reveal the inside. And then you can take, and now this record is a little bit dark. It's got songs on it like In a Token of Despair. And he really able to bring across that despair in the record. He's really able to bring that across really well. You can really feel it in his voice. Too Well Satisfied. And he's got on here Evil Woman, Born in Anger. Dr. Z is piano, harpsichord, organ, and vocals. Then you got drums and percussion and bass. And boy, this is one of those records, later at night, you turn all the lights off, you play this record, and it really changes your emotional state. It really does affect you. It's a really, really cool record. Really love it. Now here's a record called Daddy Longlegs, Shifting Sands. Now Daddy Longlegs, they had a swirl. It was their first record was the swirl. This is their second record that I know of. And the swirl, I had that as well. But that record wasn't very good. This one is really good. It's funny how the same band, I've said, is this the same band? And it turns out it is the same band. I didn't even think it was, just had the same name. But this is such a good record, and the other one is totally different sounding and not so good. In my opinion, of course. A lot of people like that record. Now here's another record, In a Glass House by Gentle Giant. Gentle Giant's another one of those bands. I must have had, I think, at least 2 of their records were on a swirl. And I probably had 5, 6, 7 of their records. This is the only one I have left. This is my favorite Gentle Giant record. And I don't hardly ever even listen to this, but when I do need some Gentle Giant, I have this. And this is on the WWA label. It's got a nice textured cover on it. And you can see it's got this plastic window in the front. And it does have an insert in it, which shows the Gentle Giant and the lyrics, of course. and it's on the. It does have this cardboard in the insert in the record, and if you pull it out, you can see how it's really cool how they did that. Gives it kind of a 3D effect. So that is a really, really nice record. Now it's not a swirl, but Gentle Giant is one of those bands that I've had a number of their records on the swirl. But this is the one that I've kept, this WWA press. This is my favorite from Gentle Giant. He also did a record called Octopus. And the first one on the swirl label is a gatefold cover, and it's got Roger Dean artwork on it of an octopus, and it's really cool. And I should have bit the bullet years ago, and I could have bought like a really beautiful, pristine one for probably like $85, $100 or something. But I never did buy it. I just was not willing to pay $100 back then for records. But now all these swirls have gone up a lot more than that. But it's one of the only. Now here's another band. This is called Nucleus. Now Nucleus has got a couple records that they put out in the 70s on the swirl label. This is from 77. So it's not a swirl, but it is a band that's on the swirl label. And it's kind of a jazzy kind of music on here. Ian Carr Nucleus is a jazz. And the last one I'm going to show today is called Ben. This is another one of the more rare swirls. And I did have they called it a second edition on the swirl label. And probably about 8-10 years ago, I sold it for $500. And then it's called Repertoire. Out of the UK has been reissuing some of the swirl records, so I was able to find it again. I probably paid, I think, $20, $25 for this record. So, and it's still in the shrink, beautiful mint. And does it sound as good as a swirl? Pretty well. It's a good sounding record. So, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you will take some time after the video now and put a like on the video. That would be great. And hopes everybody's subscribed. And bye for now.